I think that's it.
Is my second screen is behind me. Okay, good. I want to say you're very much welcome to another great session. It's my head cutting off. Yeah. So today we'll be talking about graduate school application. Last week we went into what do we call it now? Group chat. We created a group chat last week, and then some people have been responding to what I requested from you guys, write your profile, and that's good. I want to say first and foremost that you guys are really brilliant. I mean, I'm seeing this profile, I'm like, wow, this is interesting. Lot of make sense research. Let me see those people who are here that can read their yeah, I'm looking at Praise here. Praise is currently doing an MSc in UI biochemistry. Did I tell you my wife studied biochemistry from UI. She also did biochemistry master's program in UI. So you must know the Professor Farnum. Nathaniel, why? You must know the Professor Farumbi and Co, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So don't touch it, young man. So my wife did a master's there. I've entered some of the labs before. There's a lab where you guys take it. Then there are other rats in the lab where you take care of rats. That makes it rats. So that's nice. So you want to apply from Asian biochemistry/chemistry. So you can have, we'll just talk about this and choosing schools and the like. For some of the people are very good, but again, you want to be strategic in um in the school that you choose and the like. So okay, so number one, research experience. One of the things that you want to do in graduate school, of course, is research. And one of the things professors look out for, basically, they want to see those who have that research experience, not necessarily know a lot about what they are doing in that sense, but someone who is teachable. And then how do you show that you are teachable, that you can handle things, or that um, you can actually yield results, is to show some of your past works too, past experiences. And I was very happy when I was reading through and I saw different research experience that some of you guys put in, and they really makes Juliana. I'm looking at you too. You did biochemistry, so Covenant University, you had a first class, and I was looking at your research experience. Awesome, awesome, awesome. You know, my wife was doing what do we call this thing? Internship at IITA, International Institute of Agriculture. She met, I think, one or two folks from Covenant University who also came there to do CWES IT, and she was talking about the research experience that this girl had and a lot. And when I was looking through your profile, I was like, wow, see such research experience, so beautiful, so beautiful. And number of schools 12. Let me just say this for those of you in schools, I can see some persons that were very high ranking schools only. Mix it up. Yeah, of course, Juliana, I can see you mix it up with jazz, thoughts, FSU, Florida State, Stanford, yeah, top ranking, middle ranking, just mix them together. 12, yeah, try to find like 20 schools, okay? Try to find like 20 schools, and this is for everyone. I can see some put like few schools, 4, 5, 6 schools. I can see this person had 12 schools. Try to find like 20 schools that you think your profile fits, and this is the reason. You may not have to apply to all of those schools eventually, but you want to have your choices. Okay. Okay. I can see a lot of people joining on YouTube already to questions. So we get there. We get there. I'll come to your questions. All right. So apply, find as many schools as possible, because sometimes when you start making the applications, eventually you may not have to apply to all of them. But when you um, have so many options, it helps you to even be able to request for things like application fee waivers and so TOEFL waiver, GRE waiver, and the likes for those who have not written the GRE and co. So search for like 20 schools. In fact, one thing I usually tell people, when I was applying, the idea was, oh, look for 5 schools and apply. When I applied the first time, 4 schools, I was chosen, I was admitted to one of those schools, but without funding, and I couldn't go. The next time I was applying, I applied to more, like almost 10. I can't remember the exact number. Now, when I came here, I met folks who are even resident here, who are American citizens, who are saying they apply to like 20. That's what they do. They just throw it like 20 schools, and out of that, they have they choose they have their options. They choose one eventually. So apply to as many schools as possible. I mean, look for as many schools as possible, okay, that are offering what you want. Look for as many as possible. My idea is to look for 20 schools who are interested, who have what you are doing. So those of you who have written less than 20 schools, search for more. You don't have to apply to everything. Now, when you narrow down everything to 20 schools, start requesting for things from them, start searching for professors from them, start writing code emails to them, start, what's the word now? Requesting for waivers. Okay. Some of those that require you to submit proof of proficiency in English. Start asking them for waiver, telling them that you are from an English-speaking country, you studied all your life in English. Start writing to them for all those waivers. Okay. Now, eventually, when you're able to do that, you'll find like maybe between 10 to 12 schools that you eventually, maybe 10 schools. Okay. Now, if you play your game well, play your card well, you won't have to submit to pay application fee for all of them. For example, we are going to September. There are some schools that we start when they open the application portal. They maybe for the first 2 weeks or thereabouts, or in some certain months or certain weeks, they make the application fee free. University of Georgia Southern University is an example. I think there's a week where they do free application, or a month, not even a week. I think, yeah, in February. I think that's when they do it. University of Alabama is another school. I think they have a week or so dedicated to free application. They just make the application free for people. So different schools like that have different times. So when you start them ahead of time, you start receiving updates. You start getting to know when what they want and when those things. Okay, so search for most search for more schools offering what you actually do. So I'm just speaking from some of these things there. So let me go through them again. Now, of course, we'll talk about I probably will go through it. In fact, let me go through it now because since you started searching for school, let me just talk about cold emails. Now, when you are searching, when you want to write the professor, you want to what's the word now? Write to them. What's their name is not here. Please. Yeah. So you want to write to them, of course, to request for them to be your advisor, maybe to have them as a potential advisor. I've done different, what do you call it now, videos, a couple of videos on uh, writing cold emails. Okay. Now, what you want to take uh, into when you are writing your email is that you are writing to the professor to actually be a potential student of the course. Okay. You're not necessarily, I've reviewed some code emails in the past where the person is trying to apply to the professor. You're not actually, you're applying to the school, to the department, but you want to be in the professor's lab. And in doing that, you are telling the professor that, hey, Professor Z, I'm interested in your lab. I'm interested in your research work on this and that. Tell the professor you have gone through, that you went through it on the website or you went through some of their papers and then you found it very interesting because it's related to what you have interest in, and then tell the professor about your research experience. Remember, I was talking about research experience when I started this. So come back to your research experience, talk about your research experience. In that same letter, number one, you want to make the letter not too long, not make it short, but straight to the point. You are not telling professor, how was your night? How was your this and that? Okay, so you want to talk about the research experience which you already have. That's why I keep hammering, especially I see that most of us are in the what do you call it now, in the field that deal with research like chemistry, biochemistry, public health, and the likes, neuroscience. But where's Tai George? Yeah. I like what you are working on or what you want to work on. At drug addiction, neuroscience, blah, blah, blah. That's really fantastic. So about this, your research experience, which you already talked about and mentioned specific skills that you have. I can see some of you mentioned that you have knowledge of programming, R, Python, blah, blah, blah. Mention it because some of those professors, they want to see that this person actually can contribute to my lab. Okay. They have a lot of people writing to them from different countries, India, and not most of us in India, they always write that they have research experience. They always have it, programming skills, always, they just have it there. So you want to make yourself competitive. Now, don't stop at just saying that you just have the programming skill. Mention what you have done with it before. If you have the GitHub profile or anywhere you can link and then let the professor see what you have done with your programming skills before, link it there. Same goes for your publication, to make it easy for the professor to be able to search that, oh, you can find my past projects using XYZ on, then put this way the website there, or put your profile on GitHub, this is my profile, or on LinkedIn, this is my blah blah blah. Okay. So the professor can go himself or herself and see your profile and say, oh, this guy really has what I'm looking for. But the professor is able to read your paper and say, oh, this person really has what I'm looking for. Of course, yes, your volunteering experience, put it there. Anything related to the research, especially just at the level of cold emailing. Just want to put things related to the research. just to just to show that you stand out. Basically, that's what you're doing, just to show that, just to stand you out. Anything that will stand you out, you want to include it there. Want to include it there. For those who are just joining, Debbie, I see you just joining in. I've mentioned before you came in that you should look for at least 20 schools. Okay, doing what you want. 20 schools. There are over 3,000 schools in the United States. So looking for 20 schools should not be a problem, right? So look for 20 schools at least. You don't have to apply to all of them. Okay, you don't have to apply to all of them. But look for 20 schools. It's usually very important because sometimes so that you can have options when you start requesting for application fee from this or tuition waiver, or this waiver at GRE, IELTS, TOEFL, whatever waiver. So you can have that options and be able to choose schools and not be boxed into a corner. And I also mentioned before you came in that you can look for high ranking school, low ranking school. You can mix those applications that way. You can mix them so that you uh you don't get disappointed by those high ranking school if you just apply to high ranking school. And if you apply to low ranking school only, you might not know you could have had a profile that would have gotten into your high ranking school. And let me say one of the reasons for rejections generally may not be that your profile is not good enough. It just means that in that particular cycle, in that school, there are people who what's the word now? Who
I
rank
hope you can
higher
hear
than
me.
you. Can everyone hear me right? If you can hear me,
Yes,
just say
sir.
you can hear me.
Yes,
Okay,
sir.
good, good. I think it's a network that is having that problem. Okay. All right. When you have more schools, you'll be able to you have more options. Okay, eventually you have more options. You have more options. And then also rank low ranking school, high ranking school, middle ranking school, mix them together, sandwich it together, so you can just have different choices. You have different options eventually. I don't know. You might say my profile is not good enough, and then you find yourself just entering to a high rankings because the mixture of those who were applying at that time, they were not very much higher than you in the pool of application, and you just get in. And sometimes your profile may be so wonderful, and you apply to Stanford, Harvard, Yale, you apply to John Hopkins, you apply to which other school, MIT, and then you apply to these 5 schools, and then you are not chosen, and you are the best graduating student in your school in Nigeria. You are the best this, you won this award, you've done this, but they didn't take you because there are other candidates from different countries who are also applying there. Okay, and then in that pool of application, their profile is much more better than yours. Now, if you had applied to a school, my school, for example, is not low ranking, or is not the ranking is not like the MIT and course, okay? So we'll call it upper mid ranking school, mid ranking, upper mid, thereabout. If you had applied to the school, like for example, you could have gotten in. And it's also possible that your profile is not that strong, and then you are thinking of low ranking schools like some schools around that don't really do PhD, they just do masters, and then uh, you just try to apply there only, and you might not know if you probably would have gotten in if you applied to FSU or even MIT, for example, because those who are applying there at that time, the profile, then in that pool you rank higher than most of them. So that's why you want to mix it, do a mix up. So search for as many schools as possible. Search for as many schools as possible. Don't just stop at the level of just 5 schools. I'm looking at what Taiwo wrote. So before you came in, Taiwo, I already talked about your research, that this is very beautiful. Neuroscience, drug addiction, psychology, neurochemistry, blah. By the way, one of the topics we still discuss, maybe that's what it won't be the next one, is addictions. This mentorship program, we still discuss addictions. And maybe we will have you talk when we discuss this. So get ready. Okay. So, and then you talked about a lot of things which are really, 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 then your special skills, awesome, awesome, awesome. Well, look for more schools. You have just mentioned um how many schools here? 5 schools. Okay. University of Geneva is even Switzerland, or in the US. If we're focusing on US, you want at least 20 schools. I want to see 20 schools. Okay, search for more schools. If you don't know how to search for schools, I've made a video where I practically demonstrated how to search for schools. Okay, check it on YouTube. I made that video on YouTube. You can search for it. It's really, really, really beautiful. Really, really, really beautiful. Search for it. You'll be able to look for that video. You'll be able to search for more schools. Very, very important. More schools. All right. So now, number one thing you should note again when you start writing code email is that you will get disappointment. Sometimes there'll be some times when um, the professor, in fact, most of the times you won't get a response from the professor. I'm not able to respond to all my messages to ask those who DM me on Twitter. They will tell you because everybody is busy with a lot of things. Okay, professors too, they receive tons of messages per day. Sometimes my advisor will just come to me. You'll see these messages popping up on her phone or on laptop or something. There was a time she was showing a message someone from Nigeria sent to her. She was able to see that. I can't even remember what her response was to the person. I don't know if the person eventually responded. But you see, for them to even respond to you, they need to think. For example, my professor was telling me then when the person sent her a message, she was asking about some of those schools. She mentioned 2 or so schools the person graduated from, and she wanted to find out information about the school. What's the rank of the school? Blah blah blah. Of course, she came to ask me as a Nigerian. And then you see, those are some of the reasons professors don't respond immediately to because they're trying to verify the information you give to them. So make it easy for them in your messages, make it easily verifiable. Share a link, share whatever, what they can say, where they can verify the information you are giving to them. Okay, so don't expect quick response. Sometimes the response time will be up to 2 weeks. Okay, now if you don't get the response in like 2 weeks, you can send a reminder. Okay, it's not a bad thing to send a reminder. Just don't make it a new email. Just respond to the message you have sent. Hi, Professor XYZ. I sent you this message about my interest in your lab 2 weeks ago. I just wanted to be sure you received the message. Okay. So that happens. Sometimes they don't receive it and you have to remind them. In fact, they receive so let me give you an example. So there's one of our prof in school in the lab. He sent me a message asking a question some days ago. And almost immediately, I responded to him, gave him what he wanted and the likes. And after, I think the second day or so, this professor still came to my office to say, hey, Samuel, um, I want to ask about this, and same thing he sent me the message. Like I sent you a message. I said, oh, sir, I responded to the message already. He said, oh, okay, okay, okay. And he went out because he didn't see it. So yeah, and he went back to his, of course, inbox to look for the message and then got what he wanted. So sometimes it may not be intentional that they are not responding. It may not be intentional. Okay? What you really need to do is just to send a reminder. Just send a reminder. That's what you need to do. Just send a reminder. That's all you need to do. So wait for like 2 weeks, 1.5 week, 2 weeks. Within that range, if there's no response, just send a reminder. Sometimes they may see it and respond. And sometimes they may not respond because they don't know what to say to you. They probably don't have what you're talking. They probably don't have a response to what you're asking, and they don't. Sometimes some people, when they don't see you as somebody they want, they just choose not to respond and just move on, and then they respond to people who they really want. So if you have waited that much and then you are not receiving a response, then just move on to another person. And that's why you must be doing these things. Your hand must be so busy. I wish I can show you my sent message when I was sending messages to schools. So you can see the way I was sending messages to professors here and there. A lot of messages, just sending it around. So you must be busy sending these messages around. All right. So another thing, your SOP, I expect that you should be writing your SOP for at least one of the schools now. And now, what the SOP you are submitting will not be a general SOP. So if you're applying to 20 schools, that means you are writing 20 different SOPs. Of course, the main body of the SOP will be similar, but there will be differences in this in the research work you want to do. Differences in the sense that different schools call different research under different program different names. For example, someone who wants to do Taiwo, for example, wants to do drug uh, addiction, blah blah blah, neuroscience things. In some schools, you will find it in the Department of Pharmacy. In some schools, you will find it in the Department of Chemistry and Biochemistry. In some schools, you will find it in the Department of Microbiology or Biology or wherever. Okay, so, and they will call it different names. So you have to be able to incorporate that and the different research work of different professors. Okay, and then just before I forget, don't be rigid in your research interest. Don't be rigid that it must be this. In a school, what you may find may may just be close to what you're interested in, not exactly that. Okay. Do it, mention it, make mention of it. Don't just throw the school away and say that's all. No. Because sometimes the research that you actually get to do may not even be what you wrote when you were coming in. Research interest changes over time. In fact, even professors, their research interest, it's dynamic. Okay, so don't be rigid and say, "Oh, it must be this, it must be this and that, blah blah blah." No, be dynamic, be flexible. Okay, because even when you start, you discover that that research of might be what do you call it now? Uh, what's the word now? Overlap with some other research areas. Okay, people you collaborate with and the likes. So don't be rigid, be flexible when it comes to that. How did I get into flexibility of research? Um, so be flexible, that's just the word. It may also be in different departments. Okay, when you write. So okay, I remember. Okay, so when you're writing your SOP, you have to bring in this flexibility in the way you write differently for different schools, and you still must show the passion. Okay. So I expect you to start writing your SOP for one of the schools you have mentioned, and let it be ready by next. Hmm. So, because I want to make a session on how to review SOP, where each and every one of us will have to review each other's SOP. So, for next week topic for this session will be something about, okay, just make sure you try to make it ready next week, and then you can share it in the group. We'll see how we can move around that. Maybe I'll quickly do a session on how to review SOP so that each person can review SOP for each other, and then we look at an example. Okay, I will do a practical session on how to review, then other persons will review different persons' SOP and the likes. We'll get to that one. But try to start making your SOP for once to make it ready as if you are ready to apply. Okay, don't just say, "Oh, I will fill in this blank later." No, don't say you will fill in this blank later. Now, let me say this again that um, it's not compulsory in US schools. It's not compulsory a professor you have a professor that you want to work with or a potential professor before you can apply. It's good. That's why we teach how to write code emails and the like. But it is not compulsory. Okay, it is not compulsory. So when you are preparing your SOP, just use the templates in the sense of, oh, this professor, I'm interested in his work. I really love his work. And then uh, I I want to work with him, blah, blah, blah. Use it and put their name in the SOP. It's usually a good idea to have the name of at least two professors in your SOP to say, I'm interested in the work of Professor XYZ on this and this and this and this and that. I'm also interested in the work of Professor ABC on this and this and this and this and that. It's usually very, very a good thing. And then this tells those reviewing application package that this person you're interested in working with. Many times they will even send the application to the person to read. For example, when my wife applied to our school, the professor that she wrote about in her SOP, the professor contacted her and said, "Hey, it's I'm reading your SOP now." Okay, I'm not sure she was part of the admission committee, but again, they just sent it back to her because she mentioned that. In my advisor has also told me of situations where they say a particular application and the admission committee send it to her, and she'll tell me, "Oh, she's reading this. Oh, these people are so this and that," and then she's reading it and she tells me, "Yeah, I'm reading some applications from some people who are interested in, this and that and that." So that happens. So make sure you write the names of 2 or 3 people you're interested in. But some of those professors will eventually be professors that you've contacted before and you remember, "Oh, this lady, this girl, blah, blah." And they will usually make a comment on how suitable you are for their program, for the program. So this is Chris. Chris wrote Iowa State, Miami, Brown, Boston, Arizona. Okay, that's nice. All right, of course, CV. Yeah, CV. Your CV should be nice. We may just look at the CVs together. Don't want to put details that are not interesting, that are not necessary, rather, in your CV. I mean, we know you've learned tailoring, but you don't need to put tailoring in your CV if you're applying for chemistry. Okay, we know you know how to bake cake, but you don't need to put out baking cake in your CV as a skill. Well, you can put it as part of your maybe co-curricular, whatever, but it's not you want to put the main thing. You don't want to distract those looking through your CV. You want to put the main things that make you catch your skills. Your skills. Very, 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 very important. Very, very, very important. All right, all right. For transcript, let me ask, how many of you have been able to get your transcript, or how many of you are struggling with getting transcript? Okay, let's start.
Hello, sir. So I've been able to get my transcript actually. That's readily available. And I do know that some schools would say that after you have been given admission, provisional admission, you're expected to forward an official transcript. They always call this one unofficial. So
Yeah.
I have an unofficial version for application.
Okay, that's good.
Ready for me. Yeah.
Yeah, because there are many schools that use unofficial transcripts. A lot of schools.
Exactly.
Yeah, so you can still be using that. But again, such schools eventually, after admission is given, they will still eventually request for official transcript. Yeah. So one of the things I did when I was applying was to avoid schools that require official transcript. All I used was unofficial. But after the whole thing was done, I was able to send the official transcript to them. All right. Debbie, yeah, I saw you raise your hand.
Yes, sir. You asked if there's how many people has their transcript. Yes, I had my own.
That's good. That's good. Yeah, because things move very fast. So, who else responded? Yeah. Okay, Nebulisa, you want to say you have it too?
Yeah, I have my transcript ready.
Okay. Good. Okay, I can see the comment section. Unofficial transcript. And then when we say unofficial transcript, we don't actually mean the one that you got from your department. I mean, from the one they give you every year and compiled it together. And you want the one that comes from what do you call it now? Unofficial transcript for students transcript that comes from the registrar's office. Okay, because the problem some people have also had in time past is that the transcript, they couldn't get official transcript, they couldn't get the transcript that comes from the registrar, and they try to compile things together themselves, and anything you compile together yourself is seen as fraud, and some people had issues with that. Their transcript was not seen as genuine. it became an issue. I've been involved with some people. I mean, before I remember I was making a case for some people that see if this is sort of their case. So some people, because they couldn't get transcript from their school, they compile what they've gotten themselves together to be like, and they put it in a PDF version, right? So, and there'll be discrepancies. For example, if I have someone from UI, from University of Ibadan, submit his or her transcripts to the department, another person from the same University of Ibadan submits the transcript and says, "Oh, this is my transcript." And in those transcripts, the design is different, the logo, blah, 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 everything is just different, the arrangement is different. I would want to see one of them as fake. Okay. And then the reason is because some of those students are not able to get their transcript in time. Because schools like UI, for example, they have trouble giving transcript and like it takes a long time. Okay. So please don't fall into that situation. Make sure you get it from the registrar's office to get your transcript. And some schools that you'll be applying to, we ask you to do a West evaluation of your transcript. Please, if you're applying to such schools, try and start doing that early. That's an additional $200 and something. I was applying to schools. I avoided schools that require West evaluation. Okay, I avoided it totally. Avoided it totally. So let me just respond to this question. Chinedu, you are saying the application for 24 in a certain year still under review since January. Forget that 14. Forget it. Schools are resuming. Okay. Most schools resumed in August, and then only few schools in the north will resume in September. So I think forget it and start looking for another one. For those who are asking if they can join this group, so this is there'll be another cohort later on, but this mentorship group has been on for some time now, and then we see this through. Then I think another time we open it for other people to be able to join. This is the first time I'm doing a WhatsApp thing. It's not a thing I've done before. The first time. And Peace is not yet today. Peace helped us to create that WhatsApp group and added all of us together. So this is the first time. We see how it goes, we see what happens, and then we create another opportunity for those who want to join the mentorship group again, but not at this time. We'll make sure we have gotten to a reasonable level on this front before we open it up again for that to be part of. So that's for those of you who are asking about it on YouTube. Okay. But I can see those of you who have a transcript ready. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. I hope to be able to take into cognizance some of the things we have discussed about that. Now, to almost the where many people have a problem. Letter of recommendation. How many of you have a relationship, so to speak, or how many of you find it easy to have people write letter of recommendations for you for 20 schools, for example? You have that number of people who can write 2, 3, 4, 5 for you, and they are not tired and they are not complaining. Or let me say, what's it you will face if you have to apply to 20 schools, for example, and you need 3 letters of recommendations for each schools. How will it look for you, for those who are writing recommendation letters for you?
Okay, I'd say in my own case, though, I've been able to establish some level of relationship with my, say, about 3 lecturers. And I've made it known to them that, yes, I'll be pursuing graduate admission and I'll need their recommendation. And I understand. They say no problem. But sometimes I understand that they also have activities and schedule.
Yeah.
And of late, in trying to make my application, what I do is I do a draft of maybe some of my activities, some of the things I would like them to say about me, and they could just, add their own thing, compile it and all. And I just send, so just for it to be easy for them.
Okay,
Yeah. So I believe with that, it just helps the whole process and doesn't get them tired at the end of the day. I see that they want to support me, so I think that really helps.
Yeah, that's the most important, that they're really committed to
Yes,
you just to be part of
yes.
what you are doing too.
Yeah.
Okay. Is anyone having any challenge with recommendation letter? For example, I know someone, the only reason she's deciding not to do applications to the US is because of recommendation letters. She believes the professors and lecturers in school cannot, they can't help in that way and the likes. Yeah, Nabolisa, you want to say something?
Uh, yeah. For me, in my own case, uh, there will be a little challenge for me in recommendation letters. Though I have professors who agree to write a recommendation letter for me, but in some
Yeah,
cases they will say, okay, no problem, and then you begin to make applications, and then some of them might not respond on time,
yeah.
and then it will be late. Or some will tell you that they cannot give you recommendation for more than 2 schools.
Yeah, it's
So
really an issue. So that's why one of the things I believe can help is getting as many as possible, talking to as many as possible, because as time goes on and you keep um and you keep talking to them and say, "Oh, I'm applying to another school," they get tired of these and like, oh, what can I do? How can we do this? I can't continue to do this and like, so have as many as possible. One of the things I did was to have them. I have those who are like who are really committed to me. Those ones, they can write as many as possible for me. For some, I made them to write like 2, 3 recommendations for 2 schools or 3 schools. And then there are some that they wrote like 4 or 5 recommendations for me, 5 different schools. And one of the things to make their work easy is they ask for a draft from you. Okay. They ask for a draft from you, and then you submit that draft to them. I made a YouTube video. Let me see.
those
Um,
like some of these my professors, they have draft already.
okay.
So they are even some of them will send to me and ask me to edit, and then we
That's
just
good.
have
Yeah.
to upload, and then but then it takes time for them to also do the uploading.
Yeah. Yeah. It takes time. Everything takes time. So you can create drafts for them, let them, if they have a draft, you can put some things that you think they should include, because you don't want them to write a weak recommendation letter. You want a very strong recommendation letter. So some of the things you want to them to include about your strengths, what you can do, and the likes. Uh, want them to include some of those things. When they send it back to you to review, we want to include those things there. Um, is there anyone facing challenge on how to get this recommendation? Maybe with your recommenders, you are facing a challenge. Okay, there are more comments on YouTube. Oh, I've just read today. Yeah, so someone is saying that I always write them and send it to them. I actually have a video on YouTube which I did on how to write recommendation letters for how to write it generally, and then uh, I what do you call it now? What's the word now? I also the draft I used. I talked about it. I read it out in that video. It's a very beautiful one. I think I read like 3 or 4 recommendation letters. So you can look for the video on YouTube to look for how a strong recommendation letter looks like. And again, you don't want them to just write a recommendation and write to whom it may concern. That's a general recommendation letter. It won't help you more that much. Okay, you want a recommendation, just like what we discussed for SOP. Your SOP must be addressed to that particular school, just like code email. You can't use the same code email for 2 different professors. It must be specific to that professor. Your SOP must be specific to that school, to that program you're applying for. The same thing, your um, recommendation letter, it must be specific for that application you're making. Okay. So it can't be just be to whom it may concern, and then it just takes generally, just talks generally. No. We want it to be very, very, very specific. Very, very, very specific. That's what is most important. So you can look through YouTube. I hope you guys have started checking that SOP video, which I sent you last week. Because the format, when I'm looking through your SOP or when we are reviewing SOP, those are the formats we'll follow. Please look through it. Very, very important. Your SOP is one of the most important documents you can submit. It's one of the most important documents. All right. I think this is what I want to cover today. Next week we'll probably discuss a different topic, but our application, grad school application process will still, not next week, next month. Next week is next month, but next month, you know when we meet, right? We meet at the end of the month. But on the WhatsApp group, our application stuff will continue. So by next week, I expect your SOP for the first school you're applying to. Okay. So I expect your SOP for the first school you're applying to. Just send it into the group. Everyone can see it in the group. And then before our next meeting, which is the ending of the month of September, we'll look for a time to quickly review an SOP. I'll make a demonstration how to review the SOP. Then we'll make sure every person reviews one SOP. So you will be reviewing an SOP. Someone else will review your SOP too. So that's how we make this thing. And then we look at the final product together and see how it goes. So we have one week to review that SOP. So our timeline now is between now and next week, drop the SOP you have written for one of the schools or for one of the programs you're applying for. Around that time, maybe between that time and the week after, we will be able to do another session where I will review an SOP as a demonstration. Okay, and then everyone will look at it and look for the points while we're reviewing. Then between that time and the week that will follow, we'll review another person's SOP. Someone else will review your SOP too. And then maybe someone will be able to look through what has been reviewed and then just continue that way. We have a plan. No one is responding. I think we do. Or you don't want to review SOP? We review SOP. So you review statement of purpose. But don't be afraid. It's easy. It's easy. All right. So I think we can, as someone said, he's gonna join an hour late. Sorry, the meeting is just for 1 hour today, not 2 hours. So with this, I think we have a plan. I think we have homework to do, and then we can always communicate on that chat. So someone is saying on YouTube, please help some of us that are not prepared. You have fears for the schools you're applying to. Okay, so Damola, so this is what will happen. Hopefully you keep on watching out and joining things, maybe on YouTube too. When people here learn how to review SOP or they've practiced reviewing SOP, maybe we will give one of them the SOP and they will review it beautifully well. I can bet it. These guys are scholars. I can bet it on them. You need to check their profile. Okay. So for those of you who have not dropped your profile in the group, please do so. I'm going through the profile. I'm reading it. They are very, very interesting. I think you guys stand a very big chance. You guys stand a very, very big chance. A very big chance. Looking at Praise here. DNA. Oh, so Praise, you also did internship at IITA. That's nice. You know, one funny thing is when my wife started research here, one of our she started doing an internship somewhere just to gain research experience somewhere at FAMU, and then one of the professors there said, "Where did you learn this skill?" And she said, yeah, I learned it at IITA in Nigeria. So you are doing a really beautiful stuff. Really, my wife also did internship at IITA and she really enjoyed it. Really enjoyed it. I'm hoping to read some of these things in the SOPs. Okay. All right. So Damola, you're asking how. So the meeting takes place every month, every last Saturday of the month. But for this month of August, we met twice. We met last week and we are meeting today again. So I think, and the way things are going, it's possible we meet more than once in September too. So I think what you can do, Damola, is to subscribe to the channel and turn on notification. So every time it's either I'm talking about graduate school or it's the meeting going. Okay, you can also check past meetings to see what we've discussed and the likes. So Damola, I think that's what you should do. Because I don't know when, of course, it's very sure at the end of the month we will meet, but there will be additional meetings in between. So that's the situation. Emmanuel, you said thanks for the opportunity. Thank you for joining in too. You used to write them, they're always ready to help girls. Okay, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. All right, all right, all right. So, any question before we go? And if there are no questions, we continue our discussion in the group, right? Jayola, any question? Oluwabumi, any question? Olubumi, any question? Olubumi Samuel, and namesake. Okay, Job, let's have you.
Yeah, good afternoon. Good afternoon,
Right.
everyone. Okay, my question is, what would you say about a recommendation coming from my supervisor at work?
The work you do, is it related to the field you're applying for?
Yes, I'm a pharmacist, so I work in a clinical setting, so I intend to further in that direction.
Okay, yeah. Some schools make that distinction. They say when they require 3 recommendation letters, they say 2 must be from academic line. That one can be from you. Yeah, it's very possible.
Oh,
But you don't want everything to come from your work.
okay, yeah, yes.
Yeah, you don't want, so yes, you can have one of them write one of the recommendations for you. That's possible.
Okay, thank
Yeah.
you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Okay, so Gabriel on YouTube is saying it's advisable to contact different professors in the same department of the parent research topic. Don't contact them at the same time, Gabriel. Don't contact them at the same time. Not at the same time. Don't contact them at the same time. Contact one, make sure you are done with that person. If the person says no, then go to the other person. Because professors talk. Okay, so you contacted this professor, you say, oh, you are interested in doing condensed matter. At the same time, you contact this professor, you're interested in doing nuclear. At the same time, you contact that professor, you say you're interested in doing high energy. Then this professor are having, what do you call it together? They're having coffee hour, a coffee break or something. And they're talking, they say, hey, this thing contacted me. In fact, I don't know, maybe I need a student, maybe I should take it. And this professor, oh, a Nigerian student also contacted me. Third person, a Nigerian student also contacted me. Then they will just look at you and say, this person is not serious. So you don't want to fall into that situation, into that category. Yeah, let's have it.
Okay, sir. I'd like to follow up on the question asked and you just answered now. So
Yeah.
you mentioned in SOP that it's strongly recommended that we have about, let me say, 3 professors
Yeah.
in terms of research interest. So what happens after you've made the application? Is it before you make the application, you have these 3 professors and you contact one first and wait, even though that person does not reply, you still need to go ahead to include it in the SOP, then you contact the next and then the next, or after the application, you contact the first one see how it all goes, because I'm just looking at it or finding a way to see that we are listing 3 different professors, of course, within the same
Research
field.
area.
Yeah, of course. So how exactly do you know which one you are to contact? And you understand? I don't know if you get that part of my question.
Yeah, I get the question. So number one, it's good to contact them before the application. Now, if a professor does not respond, if the professor has not said no, you can still put the person's name in your SOP. Okay. If the professor says yes, you can include in the SOP that you contacted this professor and this professor has agreed to supervise you. Okay. But if no, you don't have professors who have responded to you, you can put 2 or 3 and say you are also interested in this research of Professor XYZ. You are also interested in this Professor XYZ. Now, and I'll give an example. One of the schools I applied to was South Florida. I had an interview with them, and when we did the interview, they asked me if I was interested. I said the name of the professor I put in my SOP, that the professor will not, no, that field is not available for research work. Okay, because they choose only few people for that research area every year, maybe 1 or 2. And they've gotten the quota for the year. I was coming in, and they said, do I have other research interests? And I think I mentioned 1 or 2 in the SOP. I simply mentioned that professor that, yeah, I'm also interested in this professor, what they do on this and that. Yeah, I can also do it. I can also do it. So it's very possible to do that. But if you have someone who has accepted, you just write it in the SOP that they've contacted this professor and the person has agreed to supervise you. You don't necessarily need 2 or more in that situation.
Okay, because I've seen several situations where professors will tell you on their web pages that after you've made the application, then you can reach out to them. Some will state it on their web pages, and I've seen in a faculty that 2, 3 professors will say so. So I find it confusing to include them in the SOP.
You can
then
just
at what time to contact each of them, because you're just mentioning something about reaching out to more than one.
Honestly, I still believe, regardless of what, still reach out to them, and then
okay.
If no professor has given you and say, I want to be, I will be your advisor. So still include it in your SOP, those you have interest in working with.
I also have another question, please.
Okay.
So how do we work our way around universities? I've seen this with several universities that would not offer graduate assistantship or any type of assistantship to first year students, or like you are coming in fresh. They always, most of them would say, until after you've offered some courses, or until you've been able to sit down, you've settled down and all, before you can qualify. Only few are open to say, okay, some even say, okay, just come in first, then apply. They are not usually clear on, after you've given admission, then you will get it.
No, I won't say only few say come in. I would say it's even few that do what you're saying. I mean, I understand partly there are some schools that say you have to come in first, but most research institutions in the US offer a thing ahead of time. So many times I avoid such schools who say come in and do first year first. I mean, I've seen those who have done it before, and then they did first year. The funding was not really secured, and it was during their second year that started securing the funding. So I would say search for more schools. There are a lot of schools. Most of the schools, schools with very high research outputs, they just do it straight away. And this is also on a department by department basis. A department in a school may say that, and that department in another school will give the funding just ahead of time. So it depends on how much funding the department in the school gets. So it doesn't cut across all departments in school. For example, there may be some departments in FSU now who don't give the funding straight. I know someone in a department, she was in that department, she didn't get the funding for the first year, for the first semester, I think. And she was able to secure funding. She was meant to pay actually, but eventually they funded her for the rest of her studies. She paid for first semester, maybe they paid parts in second semester, it was just staggered that way. So she came in with the mindset of I'm going to pay. But eventually they paid her as tuition. So it's usually department based, and then it depends on how much funding they can have access to.
Okay. Thank you very much, sir. Perfectly answered. Yeah.
All right. Okay, Rob, that's your question.
Good afternoon, sir. Thank you for the
Oh, how are you
opportunity.
doing?
I'm doing great, sir. Thanks for asking. My question is about my present state. I recently graduated from Obafemi Awolowo University. That was last month. So not all of my results are available. So sometimes I'm even kind of afraid of reaching out since my results are not out. I don't have transcript at the moment.
Reaching out to your what?
To apply, I mean to
Oh,
apply.
okay.
Yes.
Don't let that stop you from doing the basic things first and foremost, which is searching for the schools, searching for professors you're interested in, sending cold emails. Okay, don't let that stop you, because who knows, your transcript may become ready before the end of the year and then you're able to apply. Okay, so don't let that stop you from doing the basics for now. Start searching for schools, start reaching out to professors, everything that we're talking about, start doing those things. Okay.
Thank you, sir. Honored. Thank you, sir.
Good. All right, Olubumi Samuel, my namesake.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good morning, everyone. Depends on where we are. My question is regarding the recommendation letter. I would say for me, I only have two professors in my school that I have a very good relationship with them, and some I've reached out to them, and they said I should, they gave me their emails, and after several times, I said that they didn't respond to it. Sometimes it can be tiring, having to contact them every now and then.
Yeah.
So I want to ask that is it possible to ask other colleagues who are in, for example, who are in other schools, like in the US, or other people who are in graduate schools to help you fill that space, and they know you very well and they know what you can do.
So the recommendation letter is not trivial. It carries a lot of weight, and that's why you write it for you is very important. You will still have to try with your professors, because it should be written by someone who is who is above you, who has the authority to comment on your strengths. Okay, not just a colleague who is a friend. I remember a friend reached out to me to say if I can write recommendation letter for him. I can't. Whatever I write will not carry much weight. Let me, even if I use all the good English or write the best thing, I can't stand in that capacity. But I didn't teach you. They won't take me as even if I'm an expert in that field, they won't take my word for it. I don't have that relationship of a supervisor subordinate sort of thing to you, or like a mentor mentee to that person in the academic line. I didn't teach the person. The person didn't do research with me. The person didn't, all those things. So it won't carry much weight. So I would say still reach out to those professors, reach out to more of them, more professors if you have to. Okay, reach
All
out
right,
to
sir.
more of them, yeah, if you have to.
And also on our CV, for me currently, I'm working in AI ops, like artificial intelligent operations, but I study physics. So I don't know if it's something I can include in my work
Oh,
history.
yes. That's a beautiful thing, yeah. Because we do a lot of AI thing in physics. There are a lot of machine learning things going on in physics now. A lot of experiments are going to rely on machine learning AI in the future.
All right, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
You're welcome. So when I'm saying don't include some things, I mean things that are not totally related at all and things that are not academic in nature. That's what I was referring to. All right, Jayola.
Good morning, sir.
Good
Good morning,
morning.
everyone. Sir, for some professors, how are we going to know if they provide grants? Because on their profile, we might not see it there. So it won't be like we're just emailing those that won't even give us any response, or they don't have any solution to whatever we're looking for. So how are we going to be sure that they really provide these grants before we email them?
Okay, so sometimes a professor doesn't need to have grant before they can have you as a student, because for many schools they operate what it's called the assistantship, graduate assistantship program. Many start as teaching assistantship, which means, or teaching assistant. Many students start as teaching assistant, which means the professor is not funding you directly. If you are coming in, yes, you have in mind that you want to work for a professor or work with a professor. But the department is still funding you, and you have to pay that back in terms of teaching. Yeah, and you have to teach, basically. So when you are when you are acting as a teaching assistant, you are not directly working for the professor, you are working for the department. But your research will be conducted with the professor. Some people remain teaching assistant from their first year till they graduate, they teach, but they continue their research work. The professor they are working with is not funding them. Okay. For example, when I came in, I was a teaching assistant for 1 year. I started fall and ended in summer. Then when I joined my lab, when I joined my organ, she has a grant. She put me on that grant immediately. So I stopped teaching. Those who didn't have advisors who have grants or who have funding, they continue their teaching assistantship job. Okay. So they continue their research and they continue the teaching assistantship thing. They combine it together. So it's possible that the professor does not have a grant, but so far there is a teaching assistantship platform or program in the school, then you have nothing to fear. So far the professor says it's right to have students, I think that won't be a problem. But of course, some students come in straight away, they don't do anything like teaching assistantship at all. They just come in straight away, start doing research with their professor. Those who start as RA, research assistant, straight away. Start as research assistant straight away without teaching. So those people, they don't have anything to do with the department in terms of funding. They deal with the professor directly. And then, of course, the professor, the money routes through the university and comes through the students. Okay. But some department, they make it mandatory. All students must start as a TA. In my department, for example, is mandatory. The first year at least, you start as a TA, teaching assistant, before you go to your different labs, different groups. Did
Okay,
that
thank
answer
you.
your question?
Yeah. it did.
All right, Job, I see your hand is still up. Or is it still the same hand that has been up since? Okay, I think it's the same hand that has been up since. Let me see YouTube. So Mohammed is asking, some people say if you get a free waiver, it reduces your funding. That's not true. That's not true. Some schools, they give out free waiver to people. They just do it to increase the number of people who are going to apply or to reduce the barrier some people face. Some people have who cannot afford to apply. So they just remove the application fee. So it's not true that it reduces your chances of funding. No, I don't believe it's true. All right, Johnson, let's have you ask a question. Yeah.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good day, everyone.
Hello.
So I just wanted to make some clarifications because I've been observing something. Seems like the whole process is just for those that's into science courses. So I wanted to find out those into also trying to get admission into graduate schools like business schools and for management courses, are they to follow the same processes as well?
Yes. Just because we've been mentioning research, people do research in those fields too, right? So it's cut across all. You follow the same process, looking for those who are doing research in the area you're interested in. The same process. The only challenge you might face is that there may be more funding in the STEM field than those other fields, but it's still the same process. Definitely say, well, look for schools, look for their requirement, ask if they have funding, do all these things. Same process, same. I hope that answered your question.
Exactly. Thank you very much.
You're very much welcome. All right. I think this is a good place to stop. So we definitely continue for those of us who are in the group. We'll continue our talk on the platform on the group. Please submit the profile. For those of you who have not submitted your profile, please do that between today and tomorrow. You can see an example of those who have submitted. So use that to frame yours too. It helps in making some plans and set things. So please do that. And then start writing your SOP for at least one school. That should be ready by next week. If you are having difficulty, go through the video which I shared with you last week on how to write SOP. It's paragraph by paragraph. So just listen to what you write in paragraph 1, form your paragraph 1. Listen to what should go in your paragraph 2, form your paragraph 2. Listen to what should go in your paragraph 3, form it on and on and on. Don't use ChatGPT to generate your SOP, please. You don't want to fall into that trap. It's not a good thing. Okay, I think it's a good place to say goodbye to everyone, even on YouTube too. Femi, thank you. You are saying well done. Daniels, thank you. For those still saying add me to the group, I've explained. It's when the next cohort comes out, we'll be able to admit more people. But currently, no, we have a fixed group we're working with now. Jimmy, you're lying, Femi, you are greeting me, I greet you too. You are Femi and Sabi, I greet you. I agree. Thank you for joining me on Miami Sunday. Thank you for joining in on Jesus Springs. Thank you. And blessings. Thank you for joining everyone. Thank you for joining me. Have a great time. Almost thing when I stop. All right, have a nice